Hey, Billy, welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
All right, so Billy Pinckney. Now, people can follow you on both Twitter and IG at Billy the Bat Boy. And obviously, you go there, it'll take you to the links, all your cool stuff. You're on YouTube and you have your own personal website as well. I want to have you on. Now, you're a young guy, but you got kind of like a veteran. You've been doing this for about 10 plus years, is kind of interviewing players and talking to players. So, kind of just take us back to your story. You started as a young guy in 2013 as a bat boy and kind of how this came about.
Yeah, I just grew up as a big baseball fan. I love the game, and I wanted to find a way to get closer to it. And in 2013, I was 11 years old, and I was presented with the opportunity to become a bat boy for the New Jersey Jackals. And they're an independent baseball team, and they used to play in Little Falls, New Jersey, which is my hometown. And it was a perfect setup, 10 minutes from me. So I got hooked up with them, and they were able to bring me in as a bat boy. And I did that for about 6 or 7 years. But throughout that process, I learned to work alongside professional athletes, see how they operate, how they act, how they treat people. And a couple years after I began, I decided, how can I get closer to them? How can I learn more about their personal lives and their careers? And I decided to interview them. I thought that would be the best way to do that. And 2015 is when I conducted my first few interviews during that summer, and then it just took off. I just kept doing it. I was persistent and just growing my page as best as I could. And then back in 2020 is when I really started to do a lot more. And obviously we had a lot of time then to pump out content. And then in 2019, I was the press box and player procurement assistant. Did a lot of stuff there with working in the press box, creating content for the video board, social media, and they brought me in on the media side. And then we won a championship that year, so that was really exciting. And no, at this point right now, I just finished my last season with them, 10 years, and I was the director of digital content. So going from Bat Boy to director of digital content in 10 years, it was a great way to ascend throughout the organization. And now I'm at the point where I'm looking to create content at the affiliated and big league level. So, it's been a great process, meeting incredible people and learning so many lessons along the way. And for me, it's been an honor to work in baseball. It's a great game, and I've met so many great people while working in it.
I don't know. Congratulations on all that success. Just at such a young age. Now, let's just when you go back when you started to interview players, was there some that maybe inspired you in the media, or you just watch a lot of stuff and is this something you feel like I want to do this?
Right. Growing up as a Yankee fan, I watched games on Yes all the time. So watching Michael Kay and Jack Curry, who's answered quite a few questions for me on college and just different any advice that I have that I need from them. So those guys have been great. All of them at Yes, and I've watched other networks, MLB obviously, and SNY, and learning just how to conduct interviews, see how they speak, and obviously there's players too who turn into broadcasters and analysts. So just watching them and just trying to focus. It's tough to pinpoint one exactly, but definitely Jack Curry and Michael Kay are a few of them who I've really studied and analyzed. But it's great to watch any of them because they're all different personalities. They do things different in a different way. But something Bob Lorenz told me, who's on the Yankees pre and post game show, is just to be yourself. Everyone has a unique personality, and you don't want to copy anybody else or what they're doing or how they act. So for me, it's just to be who I authentically am, and that's what I've been trying to do through my content.
All right, and if people follow you on Instagram at Billy the Bat Boy, I saw you recently went to the Jack Curry book signing. So how was that?
I did. It was great. It was great. It was at Books and Greetings. It was about 45 minutes from me, and but it was great. I'd seen so many Yankee fans there, and I went there early, and we were able to do a little interview beforehand. And the Yes Network actually posted that interview, which was pretty special. And yeah, it was really cool because I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, but it's definitely one of my next ones. So the '98 team was a few years before I was born, but I've heard a lot of great things about that year.
And Jack Curry's a Fordham guy like me, so that's why I
Yeah.
was like kind of shying to him for that. And did you ever maybe obviously try to maybe be a bat boy with the Yankee organization? I know that's probably tough, but did you give it a shot?
Yeah, so back in the day when I was in the middle of my Bat Boy heyday, I did think about that, and I tried to get a hold of the Yankees, but it's tough.
Yeah.
there are so many people who want to be a Bat Boy for that team, and but the one thing is that a lot of them are in college. The big league age requirement for being a Bat Boy is typically as a young adult. So I was 11, 12, 13 years old at the time, and it just didn't really work out in terms of age and the point in my life. But then once I got to the age where I probably could become one, I then gravitated more towards media. So it just didn't work out. And a lot of these kids are in the city too. They're going to school and they live there. So, it just didn't work out that way, but you never know. Maybe one day I'll be a guest bat boy. Who knows?
Cool. And I guess you had a unique perspective as a bat boy, seeing the players first. So is there anything you learned about working with the players that maybe made you a good interviewer? Because you kind of know now, you know their side of it, how they feel, and kind of, just what they go through on a daily basis.
Absolutely. I think being around them, it kind of teaches you feel, like how to have feel, understanding situations and sitting behind the manager and coaching staff as they make decisions, how they speak to each other. You kind of just sit back and you observe and you learn how they speak to each other and what to say and what not to say. Because there's sometimes situations where maybe people in the press, they ask some questions that probably they may be good questions, but they're not asked in the right situation, or the player might feel a little bit of animosity towards them for asking them that kind of question in that situation. So I definitely feel and just understanding when the right time is to do certain things. And obviously they're extremely hardworking people. I mean, you see the grind that they go through. They're chasing their dreams, and that's something that really inspired me. I love to, follow people and to see people who are going after something that they really care about and they're passionate about. And the players at any level of baseball, they're trying to chase their dream. And whether it's independent ball, double A, triple A, wherever it is, all the way up to the big leagues, they're chasing their dreams. And that's pretty special. So that's definitely had a lasting impact on me.
And when you were in the independent league, was there a player or coach that just went through the system, whether it's a visiting a home player that ended up, going to the majors?
Yeah, quite a few, quite a few. One guy in particular, Tim Adelman, who was with the Reds. I actually got to see him at Yankee Stadium, and he was there my first year when I was 11 years old, and then to see him a few years later as a big leaguer. I mean, those are inspiring stories. When you see them eating peanut butter and jelly every day and not making a whole lot of money, and all of a sudden they're in the big leagues a few years later. They were incredibly persistent and they were focused and determined. A lot of guys get turned off by the indie ball style of life and the living conditions that aren't great and travel and all that stuff. But to see guys who are able to stick through it and then reach their goals is pretty incredible. And I met a few guys, quite a handful of players who I work with ended up making it to the big leagues. And it's always special to see them and what they're able to do. And sometimes they go overseas to Mexico or over in Japan or Korea and they play there if they either did make it but want to make more money elsewhere, or didn't make it but are trying to keep the dream alive and make the most of it. Sometimes they go overseas, but overall it's great to see guys get signed and make it. And it just shows how hard work over time begins to pay off, and sometimes it takes longer than others, but at the end of the day, as long as they put their all into it, a lot of times it's going to pay off.
Yeah. And yourself now, you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. You actually play baseball, I believe, for Montclair State University.
Right. I play for the club team there, and it's funny because that's the same field that the Jackals played on. And I began as a bat boy. I grew up there pretty much.
That's cool.
Now being able to play on the same field and have that opportunity is pretty special. And so many big leaguers have played on that field throughout the years, whether before they made it or after they made it, coming down just to play a few more seasons. It's pretty cool.
And you're a pitcher, right?
I pitch. I play a little bit of the outfield, but I like pitching. I never really did it a whole lot before high school, but I decided that that's something that I could maybe be a little bit better at than hitting, because hitting gets a little bit tougher as you go up the levels, the ranks.
I'm gonna say, what would be like your favorite on-field moment? Was a big hit or a big strikeout that just sticks in your mind?
Yeah, that's a good question. Ah, man. I mean, I remember in high school I think I struck out 10 batters in a 7-inning game. But then in college, I mean, honestly, we just played in the regionals that in Pennsylvania, great tournament. Penn State was in it, Temple was in it, Maryland. We lost, unfortunately, but honestly, just being around the guys and having those experiences, because in high school, I didn't have the greatest baseball experience, a lot of coaching situations that none of my teammates really gravitated towards and appreciated. But playing now at club ball in college, you kind of have that love for the game and you really enjoy it. So honestly, just spending time with my teammates and and being in that situation is always fun.
All right, and of course, Montclair University. It's right on the campus there. Basically, is the Yogi Berra Museum. Did you have do you have a chance to go in there often and to speak with the staff?
I do. I'm there quite a bit. Growing up there, the Yankees had the S Network had the Yankees hot stove every season for probably about 7 years. I went to it, and that's really when I first started getting involved with media. I was young, and they would have an audience Q&A each year from the museum, and I would ask a question about the Yankees offseason and what they're trying to do for the upcoming year. And that's when I got to know Jack Curry, John Flaherty, Bob Lorenz, and Meredith Marakovitz. And uh, yeah, going to the museum, I definitely a lot of events, book signings, that's really where I began to interview more notable figures in baseball and in sports throughout the years. I just go there for the events and try to interview them. And Michael Strahan was somebody who I spoke to there, and obviously Ron Guidry and Mookie Wilson, all those guys, different legends in New York. So definitely a great place to check out if you haven't or the listeners haven't checked it out yet. It's not a huge museum, but it's definitely very interesting. They have a lot of interesting memorabilia from Yogi and then other players from who he's come in contact with and ones who have been inspired by Yogi.
Yeah, I still haven't been there yet. Shame on me, but I did have during COVID, Eve, I believe Eve, the museum director over there, on as a guest. Kind of like she was like one of my first Zoom interviews, and she was just very friendly. Yeah, I still have to get out there. Just
Yeah.
lazy me.
Absolutely. No, it's great, especially when they did have Jackals games there. There's a little suite up top, and you're able to look outside from that angle. It's pretty incredible to see the stadium from there.
And did you see the new Yogi Berra documentary yet?
I'm about to go in a couple hours, so
Oh
I'm about to
yes,
see it today.
yeah,
Can't
I
wait.
saw it during the opening week. No, it's very good, very enjoyable. You'll like it.
Yeah.
I won't give anything away. I think you probably know 80% of it already, but there were some cool little nuggets in there. And of course, Lindsay Berra is heavily featured in it, and I'm sure you've bumped into her at some point. So obviously, Billy, as you mentioned before, a big Yankee fan. You go to Yankee Stadium a lot, and you drop a lot of videos. Which again, if people follow you on Instagram at Billy the Bat Boy. So you speak to fans actually kind of during the game. So what's like your funniest or weirdest moment, just talking to fans?
It's funny. I'm doing a lot more of that now. I finally got out to a few more Yankee games this year than I have in the past since I was so busy with the Jackals and everything. But honestly, some of these fans they're quite funny. They got some funny stories. Some of them I can't even post. It's so bad. But
Uh,
I always love asking the fans the most attractive thing about baseball players or what player they'd like to marry if they could or things like that. I think it's funny. And you get a lot of Aaron Judges, especially after that big contract. And just hearing some of these reactions, it's pretty funny. And to think of one in particular, I know somebody said that they like lefty catchers. I'm like, lefty catchers,
there
like
are none. I don't know.
ones that throw lefty, not even lefty hitting.
Yeah.
Like you don't really see that much. Maybe in little league here and there you have a lefty catcher, but you really don't see that a whole lot.
No, I don't remember ever seeing that in the majors. I know I saw you tried the 99 burger. So what's your review on it? Is it worth the hype or what's the deal?
The 99 burger, I need to compare it to a standard hamburger at Yankee Stadium. I haven't had one of those in a long time, but it was pretty solid. I got to say, it was really good. I think they had some type of garlic bread uh, flavor to it, and then they had it was like this caramelized onions. It was interesting. They had a whole concoction of pieces in it that they layered and made it like kind of like a Krabby Patty from SpongeBob. But
Hmm.
that was pretty good. It was like $20, but that's Yankee Stadium for you.
And now they said it was a limited amount. Did you have to wait on the line for it, like long line, or wasn't
Yeah,
much of
we
a long?
did have to wait on the line. It wasn't too long, but of course, with the pitch clock now, you're gonna wait a good inning and a half for it. But they definitely made more than the 99 that they say that, or whatever amount that they said they would make of it. They definitely went over that limit, and
Gotcha. So
you know.
all right, so like the Yankees on the field, they finally showed a sign of life. Looked like the offense has come alive. They split the series against Tampa, but I think they have a couple, concerns with them, and I think one of them is Nestor Cortez, who started off the season right, but his last three starts or so have not been good. Do you think he's hurt maybe, or you think he's just a little out of whack?
I wouldn't be surprised if he's a little banged up and he's just trying to fight through it, especially him knowing that they're a little bit weak on the starting pitching side of things with Severino still out. He's coming back pretty soon, hopefully. And then Carlos Rodon, and I don't know what's happening with him. That's an interesting situation. So I think he's trying to just do what he can to provide quality innings, but at the same time, he's not the guy who you saw last year or the year prior to that. And I wouldn't be surprised if something comes out that says, oh, he's dealing with a little nagging injury or something like that, or they give him a start off. But maybe he's not. Maybe he's just something's off. Maybe his consistency and his command is off a little bit, and he just needs to work things out. And that happens with guys. But he's a smart pitcher. He's a smart player, and I wouldn't be surprised if he just finds a way to make a couple adjustments and gets back in line with what he's meant to do. But you never know. You never know. I know he's somebody who's not going to want to take time off, but we'll see if it ends up happening.
Yeah, I'm just worried about that groin because also remember the Houston game 4. He had to walk off the mound to hurt groin. Gives up the big 3-run home run. He was going to pitch for the Team USA, but he opts out just because of the injury. All right, and he kind of has a shortened spring training. I think it maybe could be that groin or something like that. And like you said, maybe he's just trying to fight through it just because the Yankees are a bit shorthanded with the starting rotation.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We'll see if anything comes up, but as of now, the young guys have to step up, and seeing Brito and Cordero last night, that was pretty refreshing. You never know; those guys could continue to step up moving forward.
And another concern I have with the Yankees is, which was never really the case that much in the past, is now the bullpen, where it looks like Clay Holmes is no longer the de facto closer. And now Boone's is kind of going by matchups on a game-to-game basis. I mean, do you think the Yankees could withstand that, or they're going to have to go out and make a move to get a bona fide, typical ninth inning type of closer?
Yeah, I mean, it's working right now, I guess, using Wandy and King and high leverage spots. And we'll see we'll see. It's a tough call because who would you have to give up? Would you have to give up more minor league pieces? Would it be a big league piece? Would Aaron Hicks be involved in a trade? Would somebody take him? Then seeing Tommy Kahnle coming back at some point, I guess, how can he play a role into that bullpen? But you can't really count on the guys on the IL because you don't know how they're going to come back and produce. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking at options like that in with the trades, and we'll see. We'll see. Marinaccio another guy who has been trusted, but of course, guys struggle sometimes, and we'll see. But I think they definitely want to get these injured starters back, and then hopefully that'll take some pressure off of the bullpen, and hopefully guys will go deeper into games, because once you start taxing that bullpen, we saw it last year, then that's when things start to fly out of control.
Yeah, I think also would help, once Severino does come back, I think they're going to move Schmidt to the bullpen because I think Herman's been the more impressive starter. And then I think I like Schmidt as like a 5th, 6th inning guy. He's a 2-inning pitcher, but him as a starter, I just don't think he has the longevity to go, 5, 6 innings consistently. Like he eventually blows up. I think Schmidt's better suited just to be like a 6th or 7th inning type of pitcher.
I agree with that. And I agree that once you put him in the bullpen, once again, he has to stay there. You can't keep bouncing him around back and forth. You see so many pitchers in the past who they say, hey, we're going to have you be a starter this year. You're going to actually, no, we're going to put you in the bullpen. And next year you're going to build up to be a starter again. You can't do that to guys. So if you're going to put him in the bullpen this time, he's got to stay there and be a 2-inning guy, maybe 3. But I like that. I think he's best suited for that, and let Herman go do his thing. He can go deep.
All right. And speaking of Herman and Boone this season, Boone's kind of made a couple of weird calls, kind of seemed like taking pitches out at the wrong time, putting pitches in at the wrong time. I mean, would you lose faith in Boone a little bit, or do you think this is bad luck?
Yeah, this is all the analytical stuff coming into play, and I'm not a fan of taking pitchers out, especially if they're rolling and they're dealing with 2 outs and a 89 pitch count. I mean, leave the guy in. I mean, I don't care if it's the 3rd time around or he's the matchup on the iPad says otherwise. Just let him in, let him go. Let him finish the inning or whatever the case may be. I saw so many times this year, whether in person or watching on TV, where the reliever comes in with a dirty inning and he gives up all the runs that were on base, all the runners coming to score. It doesn't affect the bullpen ERA. That's why the bullpen ERA is so good this year. But you look at the inflated starting pitchers ERAs, and that's a problem. And you have to evaluate that and say, hey, this guy, he comes in, he gives up the runs, he gets out of it, but he gives up all the runs. So, it's a difficult spot. But obviously, relievers can make a manager look like a genius or an idiot. So, It depends. Sometimes it's bad luck. Sometimes it's just a bad decision to go to the pen in that spot. But we'll see what keeps happening here. But the concern should be in the postseason, how are you going to navigate that? It seems like Garrett Cole is the one guy who, if he wants the ball and he says he could get through it, Boone will let him get through it. But some of the other guys, I don't know if it's a trust thing or definitely the matchups. Those come into play a lot with analytics.
And when the Yankees finally, I think, started turning things around, obviously the April did not end well. But I think once Harrison Bader got back, and then Judge right after, but I think it was more Bader kind of sparked his team. So, what's your thoughts on Bader just as a player?
I think he's great. He's a great spark plug. You throw him in there and get some energy. Somebody who's quick, fast on the base paths. Just make something happen. He makes things happen out there, and whether it's defensive plays, running on the bases, or just getting on base, he's a guy you want. He's a guy you want for sure. And as long as he's healthy, he's a difference maker right there.
And I think another player who's really finally now starting to step up and make an impact on the team has been Anthony Volpe. Didn't really have maybe an impressive April offensively, but now turning on, and now you're starting to see the power, which is, now you're starting to see what the Yankee organization saw in this guy when they put him on the major league roster to start the year.
Right. Absolutely. No, he's great. He reminds me of Bader a little bit in the energy that he brings and just his ability to steal bags, enhance the running game, something that they lacked a little bit in the past. Kind of, you have that lineup balance a lot more this year with guys who are able to just slap the ball, get on base, walk a lot. He builds the count up a bit. So when you have guys like that in the lineup, especially taking more pressure off of DJ LeMahieu, who's now able to be in the middle of that lineup sometimes, and it sets it up really well for guys like Judge and obviously hopefully Stanton when he comes back from the IL. And I think they're in a decent spot. I think it's really just the pitching that's the issue.
No, I totally agree with you. I think once they sort that out, I just think that, the bullpen, I think, is as well. I think that's kind of where they need to tighten it up a little bit. But I think the lineup is now starting to click in. And of course, you just mentioned before Stanton now, when he does come back, any chance you put him in the field or you just say, hey, look, we're not going to mess around with this anymore. Just be the DH. We can't afford these, trips to the IL because, leg injuries.
Right. It's interesting. I like to talk. I would want to talk to him and see what he thinks. And maybe some days you throw him out there in the corners and here and there. But if he feels better just DHing, then you may have to roll with that. But you also want some flexibility with the DH spot and try to move guys in that spot to have a half day off. So it's going to be a wait and see type thing and see how he responds to getting some work in the outfield. And if he'd rather not, then, that's how it has to be.
All right, and another player who's been kind of interesting this season, not really offensive, but it's been IKF. I kind of Falefa, obviously make him transition to center field. There now, you're a player yourself. Have you been impressed that actually, he makes you hold your breath a little bit, but he's been holding his own, making some decent plays out there.
Yeah, I always liked him. I never hated him. A lot of Yankee fans aren't really big fans of him, but I think he's a great versatile player. He's fast, put the ball in play. That's all you could ask for. He's somebody who rose to the occasion to play the outfield, especially when guys were down, and to be that guy who can help the team win. And hopefully he's here for the long run. I think that he's a great guy, especially off the bench and filling in those spots here and there where they need him to be. And I definitely commend him for obviously not making a big deal about losing that starting shortstop position and somebody who's going out there, and when he's called upon, he's the one who's out there doing his job.
No, I agree with you. He's basically a utility player, more or less. He can play multiple positions, use him for defense. Again, you're not going to expect him to hit 300 and 15 home runs. So that's the expectations. That's probably why people will grouch you with him, from time to time.
Right, exactly. Now it's, sometimes Yankee fans are a little bit harsh on players, and one mistake leads to a snowball effect of a nitpicking thing with any other mistake that they may make. But I'm not, I have no bad things to say about him. I think he seems like a good guy too in the clubhouse, and I think he's going to hopefully help the team win down the stretch.
And coming in the IKF and Donaldson trade was also Ben Rovette, who's working his way back to health now. He's interesting, of course. He's a left-handed bat as a backup catcher, which began a little interesting to switch it up. I mean, do you think any possibility that he would steal Higgy's job, or you think this Higgy and Trevino are going to be the two catchers for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think it's Higgy and Trevino, but you never know. If there's an injury, he'll probably be the first guy up. You never know. And there's a lot of prospects too within the Yankees system who are some solid bats. They have some solid bats. Austin Wells is down there, and they have other guys. A couple are injured, but It's tough, one little injury and that could prevent you from cracking the big league squad. And we saw that last year with Vet and having that injury. He probably would have been on the big league roster, but things happen. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see him up there at some point. You never know.
All right, and just like switching it back to yourself, as you continue your journey, is there one place you would like to be, like maybe a broadcaster, or just like sort of be like an interviewer? Like, where would you like your career to go ideally?
Yeah, I'd love to create a segment with a network or create content with a network, find ways to collaborate with them. So that's the next step right now is just trying to create that kind of opportunity. And I'm doing a lot on my own right now, going out to different ballparks, trying to build up my profile and my platform. But you never know, just taking it a day at a time. And hopefully one day I'll be able to create with a network. And I think the Yes Network posting the interview with Jack Curry was a great step, but we'll see what happens next.
Oh, and I guess you yourself, as going thinking back as a little kid, being a Yankee fan. Who was your favorite Yankee or Yankees growing up?
Well, it was definitely Derek Jeter, being a kid playing the infield and loving the Yankees. He was a great role model for kids. And Nick Swisher was always a cool guy to watch. I watched baseball right when he was with the Yankees, and that was really the beginning for me. And I remember when Nick Swisher dropped that album that he did some covers of some songs. I don't know if you saw it or not, but you gotta check it out. It was pretty funny. But no, just how positive he was and how much fun he had playing the game, and interviewing him a few years after that. And I think it was 2016 when he was in AAA with the Yankees before he retired, 16 or 17. That was pretty fun. It's a great guy.
Well, yeah, I'll give you a little spoiler with the Yogi movie. He actually does a few, cameos in there as well.
Yeah.
So when you see him, you'll see Swisher in that film. And give you an opportunity just for your own, I guess you have your own video production company. Is there anything you just want to advertise about it? Feel what it's about and how people can get in touch with you about it.
Yeah, Bat Boy Productions. I do a lot of videos for youth sports teams, youth players who are looking to get recruited, kind of like recruitment videos. And then for some local businesses, I try to help increase their brand awareness. And video productions one of my strong suits, and I want to help some businesses in the area achieve that, achieve their brand awareness and increase their business. And that's something I've been working on as well. I've tried kind of like an entrepreneur, doing a few different things at the same time, and trying to build up different platforms. So yeah, along with Billy the Bat Boy on social media and my content, I do have Bat Boy Productions, and where I can help some businesses and youth players.
All right, awesome. Well, Billy, I appreciate this time with you. Again, people can follow you on both Instagram and Twitter at Billy the Bat Boy. We'll get links on your website. You'll see all the cool videos you do as well. You as a player, as well as you at Yankee Stadium. And just best of luck everything on your education, your video production company, and your future, which I know is going to be very bright. Again, appreciate getting your time, and hopefully we can speak again in the future.
Thank you, James. I really appreciate it.